Hey, what's going on? Quis here from Sports Vibes TV, and I've got some major breaking news. The Nets, the Rockets, the Pacers, and the Cleveland Cavaliers have worked together to formulate a blockbuster trade that has just been approved. Shams is reporting on Twitter that the full breakdown of the trade entails the Rockets, they're going to be receiving Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodion Kurucs. They're going to also receive 3 Brooklyn first-round picks for the years 2022, 2024, 2026, and they're also going to receive Milwaukee's first in year 2022. The Rockets are also going to have the rights to swap first-round picks with the Brooklyn Nets in years 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027. Now, the Nets in this trade, they're going to be receiving, James Harden, the player that they coveted. That's all they're going to be receiving. The Pacers, they're going to be receiving Quis Levert and a second-round pick. It doesn't specify who the second-round pick is coming from. So if I get any other information, I'll make sure I'll update it down in the description or in the comments. And also, the Cavs, they're going to be receiving Jarrett Allen and Taurean Prince. So it's a lot of moving parts in this trade. And I think if you look at it from each team, you can understand why each team will be happy in what the final trade ended up being. The Rockets, they're getting 4 picks. That's the 3 from Brooklyn and the 1 from Milwaukee. And they're also going to have the opportunity to swap. So the reason they can't just have the Nets trade every single pick that they own is because there's a rule in the NBA that NBA teams cannot trade picks in consecutive years. So it's every other year. So what they did is, in these years where they couldn't trade picks, they're basically giving the Rockets the opportunity to jump up to their spot if they were to have a higher draft pick. So for the Rockets, they're getting those picks in order to help build out their team in the future. And they're also getting Victor Oladipo. Now, on this channel, Victor Oladipo was a player I wanted the Knicks to reach out to and possibly acquire. So for them to get Victor Oladipo and be able to put him next to John Wall and Boogie Cousins, to me is a much better move, I think, not in terms of overall talent, but in terms of fit, because the Rockets in this trade were originally talking to the Philadelphia 76ers. And if Ben Simmons were to be that player that was going to be brought over, I think the pairing between Simmons and Wall and Boogie, I don't think that would be the best fit when it comes to style of play and the lack of shooting you may have on that team, especially with the way the NBA is evolving now. So for them to get Victor Oladipo, a player that can play opposite of John Wall and a player that can still shoot and not compromise you on the floor when it comes to spacing, I think for them is a good move. I wasn't originally expecting Victor Oladipo to be included in this trade. They're also getting Dante Exum, a player that was highly touted when he was drafted originally. He hasn't developed into the player a lot of us or a lot of analysts expected, but he's still a serviceable backup and he's going to be a contributor on the Rockets, I expect. Now the Nets, as I said, they're getting James Harden, and their plan is going to be pair him with Kyrie Irving, when he comes back eventually, and Kevin Durant, giving them, to me, the most potent trio in the league. So it's going to be interesting to see how Steve Nash, implements James Harden into the offense. We already know that Kyrie and we know that KD can play off ball. So them adjusting to James Harden when he's the one that's dominating the ball is something you can see working. We just want to see, or I want to see, how James Harden is going to defer to the talent of KD and to the talent of Kyrie. That's something he hasn't had to do since he's been moved over to Houston. So to see how that dynamic works, to me, will be interesting. Now, the Pacers, they traded Victor Oladipo, but they're going to be replacing him with Quis Levert. Now, Levert is going to probably fill the same role in that offense. And Levert, I think, is already signed for another 2 or 3 years. So they're not going to have to worry about re-signing Victor Oladipo or trying to replace him if he were to leave and they got nothing for him. So the Pacers, that's going to be a win for them in my book. And the Cavs, the caveat or the big picture in this trade for the Cavs is they're going to receive Jarrett Allen. So with Jarrett Allen, they now have a big man to replace Andre Drummond when his contract is done this season. So Jarrett Allen is going to be a player that the Cavs are going to have to re-sign as well. He's on the last year of his deal, but now they have a young option that they can see if he meshes with a Garland, with a Sexton, and if he could be a part of their long-term future. So I like the deal on all sides, on all four sides, and I want to know now, what do you think down in the comments about this trade? Once again, I'm Quis, host of Sports Vibes TV, and I'm out.